Hey there everybody, welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. I know it's been a while. A lot's been going on with me and I can only tackle so much at once because otherwise my videos would be more like vlogs and would last 4 hours at a time. I don't know, maybe I should start doing a vlog series because it seems like there's always something going on. Anyway, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. Someone just started a lawnmower just as I'm filming, so I'm hoping you cannot hear that. If you can, I apologize. This year marks my 10th year of being a full-time artist. And it also marks my 10th year of being on Etsy. And over the last year or so, I have had a few people message me and ask me if I would do a video to compare Etsy as to how it was then compared to how it is now. And I thought, you know, it's kind of timely to be doing this now. I'm going to shut this door because that is distracting. So I thought it was timely, you know, to do this now with it being my 10-year anniversary. And I do have a lot to say about the subject. You know, Etsy back in 2012 was very different. It was a different atmosphere. It was sort of a community. I felt like I was part of it. It was almost like a family of makers, and everybody supported one another back then. We used to do treasuries. This was a long time ago. For those of you who remember treasuries, at least I think that's what they were called. In my mind, that's what they were called. But Etsy encouraged people to look around at everybody else's stuff and put together like a curated collection of items. And if your item was chosen for a treasury, you would get notified by the other maker, and it would essentially kind of become like public so other people could see it, and it was a way to share each other's work. So, you know, it also developed relationships. We forged relationships with one another through those, and there were, you know, teams were really active back then. There was just a lot going on Etsy that was really good and positive. We all felt like we were sort of in it together. Etsy now is not like that at all. Since Etsy became like a legit business, and since they took their business public, everything sort of changed, and it became a place where to me, it was for the money. Everything was money driven. You know, things always sort of get ruined when you involve that type of thing in it, because everything changes, because everybody's priorities change, it seems. So, you know, not that teams and treasuries were all that, but it gave you a sense of community, and there isn't that now. Now, Etsy is so saturated, full of shops, that you feel like if you're not smothering, you feel like you're in direct competition with everybody else. It's no longer a sense of community. It's a sense of, it's sort of cutthroat is the way it feels, because you are constantly competing with other shops. Back then, obviously Etsy prices were a lot lower. The listing fees were a lot lower back then. To set up shop on Etsy, it was a no-brainer. If you didn't know about Etsy, you heard from it from another maker who said, hey, you don't have to have your own website. You can go on this place called Etsy, and they will allow you to start a shop for free, and listing fees are really low, and when you sell your items, you know, the percentage that they take is really low. And so it was really a win-win situation back then. And it was really nice to be able to have that, because as an artist who had no money to invest in my business, it was a no-brainer. It was a great place for me to be. Starting on Etsy now, as a new artist, as a new maker, is incredibly hard. And I say that from firsthand experience. I'm not out of touch just because I'm an established seller on Etsy with over 4,000 sales. My husband started an Etsy shop in September, and I helped him through every step of that. And he has struggled to be seen by anybody in search. And he has on-trend items. It's not that he's selling some random things on Etsy. He has items that are actually on trend right now, that are in demand, and sometimes his items are lost 10, 15 pages deep in Etsy because other people are selling similar items. And also, people will look and browse on Etsy. Oh, I could make that. So they'll maybe modify a design, and then they'll start creating something very similar to it, and now you have direct competition. I mean, all is fair. You know, you can't stop people from being inspired by your work, but it just makes it that much more difficult, because then you have to think to yourself, well, can I offer it at the same price? If I offer it higher, how will they know that my work is better than this other person's work? Well, you won't. You know, as a customer, you're just going to be rolling the dice and hope that you get something that you're going to be happy with, because all you really have are listing descriptions and photos to go off of. So he's had it really challenging. The only, well, let me back up. So Etsy then, it wasn't very difficult to get your items seen because it wasn't an oversaturated platform. Now, really, the only way that my husband can get his items seen in search is to throw Etsy ads at it. And I believe, from my personal experience, that anyone starting on Etsy right now, unless you have a minimum of $30 a month to invest in ads, you are going to be very hard pressed to get into search at a competitive level where you will be seen by customers, unless you are selling something that is so niched down that only a select group of people will ever search for that item. From my own personal experience in my own Etsy shop, I turned off my Etsy ads in April after the Etsy strike. I participated in the Etsy strike. I was not happy with the way things were going. It didn't really have so much to do with the listing fee increase as much as it did Etsy refusing to acknowledge that there were internal problems, that it almost felt like Etsy was imploding from within. And rather than address those problems and listen to sellers about what we feel needs to be done in order to improve the platform, they essentially ignored those of us who went on strike, didn't even acknowledge us, and just carried on like, well, sucks to be you. And that really hurt me as a seller, because they weren't even really willing to listen. And so I am personally making changes to move away from Etsy. It's not going to be overnight, but we'll save that for another video. But that is sort of where I'm at right now. I'm not going to bash Etsy. There's still a lot of things that I like about Etsy, but there are some internal issues that I can no longer ignore. And that is, we might touch on a couple more of those here before this video is over because it's relevant. But anyway, I digress. I turned off Etsy ads in April. After that fact, I thought, if I'm going to be investing money, I'm going to start investing it on my own website. I'm not giving Etsy any more of my money because they are not listening to me as a seller or supporting me as a seller. And so that was it, essentially. As a seasoned Etsy seller, after I turned off my ads, my visits to my shop and purchases made for the year decreased by 30%. That is a huge amount. So I have over 4,000 sales in my shop. I have over 1,000 five-star reviews. I have an established customer base. I have an established shop on Etsy. And the minute I turn my ads off, if I can't get seen in search, and a lot of my items now are no longer found in search in the first several pages, if I can't get seen in search, then I can only imagine how a brand new shop would be coming in trying to get their items seen. So Etsy ads are incredibly important. I think they are probably the most important thing, right up there with good listing descriptions, understanding SEO, and having good photographs. You got to set aside a budget. It's a minimum of $1 a day. That's my recommendation. That it's my opinion. Maybe it will work for you otherwise, but that is what I recommend. So that is another big difference between then and now. The other thing that is different between then and now is back then you did not have outsourcing and resellers. That has become one of the sticking points as to why I'm so frustrated with Etsy and why I'm moving away from Etsy, and why I participated in the strike. There is an abundance of Etsy shops that are open that had no hands-on in making any of their items. They simply purchased them in bulk, opened up a shop, and started selling them just like they were on eBay, essentially. I understand that there is a place on the internet for all small businesses to make a living, but Etsy is not one of those. Etsy is supposed to be a place where people hand make their items. Now, when Etsy first put this out there, when they first started allowing outsourcing, the intention was that if you as a creator couldn't make certain components for the items you wanted to sell in your shop, you could outsource that help, and then someone else could help you with that, and then you could sell those items in your shop with the assistance of somebody else. I believe that that is what their intention was, but there must be some sort of a loophole in there, because suddenly all these shops were opening up and they're like, well, I know I'm not making this, but I am packaging it up and selling it, or I'm just maybe drop shipping it. Maybe that's what I can do. Well, we'll just find out. Well, they'll open up their shop, they'll make lots of sales because it's taking them no time whatsoever because they're not making anything. So they can, as long as they have the items in stock, they can get stuff shipped out in a day. And then because they're selling their items for a lot less, because they're essentially putting no time or effort into these items, people are buying them and they're just getting seen higher and higher in search. And because they're bringing in all this profit, because they keep getting these sales one after the other, they can put that money right back into Etsy ads, which then boosts them up into search. And then everyone else who is actually making items, they can't compete with the prices. That is a huge sticking point with me. I find that unacceptable, and until Etsy gets their act together and addresses this, then then I'm not gonna give them any more money than I absolutely have to. So I said I wasn't going to bash Etsy. It's not really a bash, that's just the facts. That's the way things are right now. They say that they are going to crack down on resellers, but they've been saying that, and instead of actually doing that first, they decided they needed more of our money, so they increased our listing fees again. So that's kind of where we are. So I had mentioned sort of pros and cons between how Etsy was then and how Etsy is now, and it still is a good place for for people to sell their wares if you are looking for lower cost, if you don't have enough money to start your own website, if you don't have a following and you need to get your items in front of people, but you don't have a following, you don't have a lot of income, Etsy is still a great place to sell if you don't have a lot of startup. It's still relatively inexpensive compared to other places like Amazon, eBay, some of the other places that you might be selling your work. They are still relatively low, or at least competitive to other major online e-commerce platforms. So that is something to take into consideration. I don't want to deter you from trying Etsy if you are on the fence about it. I just want you to be aware that it is not the end-all be-all that everybody says that it is. And I know, because I have seen it go through these phases over the years, and it is vastly different from where it once was. And I hope that they can get back to where they were at some point, because I think they're going to lose more and more real sellers if they don't. And I think that it would just be very sad for a lot of makers and small business owners who legitimately work our butts off to keep our businesses afloat. So, there are other pros and cons, but those are the main differences between selling on Etsy then and selling on Etsy now. There are a lot of indie e-commerce platforms that are opening up that are trying to compete with Etsy. I can't remember the names of them off of my head, but when I went on Etsy, when I went on strike for Etsy, I made it known on all of my social platforms, and I had several people who were asking me to check out other areas to sell, and like other makers markets to sell, and I wish them well. I think it's great that people are trying to do things like that, but right now the one thing that Etsy has done over the past couple of years is they have thrown a lot of money into advertisements, and when someone thinks handmade, now they automatically think of Etsy. So Etsy is still getting the traffic, and until these other places catch up with that, it's going to get harder and harder to be seen. On the other hand, it's hard to be seen there now unless you pay for Etsy ads. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad, and you have to look at your own personal situation and make that decision for yourself. So, like I said, I'm moving away from Etsy. I am looking at different things. I've made some changes in my business. I see more change coming. It's a little scary because in some ways I feel like I'm right back to where I was when I started out. I'm really having to budget because, again, my income is considerably lower this year. And so, but that is why I always say, and I'm going to say it again, and I'll continue to say it on my channel, don't invest everything in one area in your business. You want to have different streams of income coming in from all different areas. Even if you're only getting, a $30 check here a month, or a $50 check here a month, or even a $20 check here, it all adds up. So when one thing goes kaput, then you can rely on those other streams of income to sort of help get you through that rough patch while you're trying to figure this out. So that's sort of what I'm doing right now, is I'm focusing heavy on my other areas and of where I know that I can make up that income, and I'm reevaluating what I'm going to do with Etsy when I no longer want to use it completely as a selling platform. I will keep you posted on that, by the way. I will let you know what I decide to do as soon as I figure that out. I've always tried to be transparent on this channel, And yeah, I just wanted you to know kind of what was going on, and I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you are all happy and healthy and having a great season so far, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.